Hey, what's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Jay here. We're back again with the coffee Q&A on the Ono Coffee channel right here. Most weekdays at 10 a.m. We're coming here to talk to you about coffee and answer any questions that you might have that has to do with coffee preparation, or anything like that. And today, we're going to be talking about coffee books. We're in the office here. I'm looking a little bit overexposed. How do I adjust that? The one thing about that's not what we want. Oh, God. There we go. I guess we won't have to worry about that for now. And there has to be some adjustment somewhere here. Whatever. Anyway, we are here in our office, and this is where we do a lot of our work. That's either for the channel or for the company, for the roasting company as well. And so let's get to it. We're going to go over, and first of all, we're starting with some coffee, right? Coffee is a good thing. And let's do it. Go over here. All right, so we're here with our coffee setup, and I have a La Valentina. I have to walk over here and switch. So we have a La Valentina, which is an Italian-made espresso machine. It's a nice espresso machine. It's really a nice one. I've had this for about 20 years now, and it's been great. This is actually the first machine I used in a commercial environment. So we used this for several months until we could buy the La Marzocco Linea 3 group. Got one of the 3 groups, and then so it's been really a great one. 20 years old, and it's still rocking it solid. Now, the only thing I did change was I went to La Marzocco portafilters. This is the newer La Marzocco stainless portafilter that has the removable spouts, right? That's a nice little feature. A little bit dirty. Don't mind that. So let's make some espresso, right? So, here's the thing. A lot of people ask, well, what kind of machines do I need to buy? And the thing is that espresso machines, you can buy pretty much anything. I do think that if you spend around $1,500, you're going to get something really worthwhile that you can actually keep and use for 20 years. This cost me about $1,500 back in 2002. And it's pretty much the same price, right? So if you're spending between $1,500 to $2,000, you're going to get a really nice quality machine that's going to be a workhorse. And, it's very simple. This is a heat exchange machine that has a single boiler. And then it has an E61 group head, this group head here, which works really well. It's got a heavy density of brass, so it holds. Once you build up the temperature, it holds it well. This one has programmable brewing dispensing system, but I just use the simple brew thing. Yeah, just off and on. And you don't really need to worry too much about it. So for me personally, we use at Spro about 21 grams of coffee in a double basket. This has a VST basket in it, for those of you who want to know the technical things. Good morning, Brian. How are you doing today? And then I've got this old Mazda Major grinder. This is an old grinder. It's a Mazda Major Auto, so if you wanted to, you could tell it to fill up the hopper with ground coffee, and then you wouldn't have to worry about it. We never do that. We always write 2 orders. So we've got some fresh Nicaraguan coffee from Jinotega. So let's just brew some up and now, a lot of modern guys don't like to use these older style dosing grinders, right? I think the dosing grinders are the way to go. If you're going to learn the craft, learn the dosing grinder. Then when you go to non-dosing grinders, you have that much more experience. You understand grinding. You understand how much to dose. You understand controlling your mess, and that makes you a better craftsperson. It's kind of like if you're a driver. If all you know how to do is drive automatic vehicles and you can't drive a stick, are you really a driver? All right, so what we're going to do, look here. We've got our coffee. It's a little bit hard to see the details, a little bit darker, but we're just going to push it around a little bit. I don't need any tools like this. I do have one of those distribution tools, right? This thing here. I got this from a guy in the UK. Really nice. I mean, I like it. It's cool. And I'm gonna, who am I? Thought I was gonna sneeze. Acupuncture needles, and you could use this to rake it. I never used that. I mean, I bought it because I wanted to see what it was about, and he made a nice case for it, so I really like it. But as far as using it on a practical basis, not really. And then, like, same goes with this, right? Like, this ring is cool. It's supposed to go around here and help you, but it doesn't really fit. It fits pretty tightly in here. And if you're trying to move fast, what's the purpose of that? So we've already got pushed around a little bit. Now we're just going to temp. I like to adjust my level here like that. Temp, give it full pressure now. A little bit of twist and polish. A little bit extra there, so we're just going to knock that off. Flush our roof head. And then we're going to get our cup ready. This is a cup that a friend of mine made for me. This is something, so back about 20 years ago, we were trying to figure out cups that we were going to use. And so I went to one of my friends who's a ceramic artist, and he does Japanese raku style pottery. This is what raku. So he made me some raku cups. This particular one had a bit of a blowout here. You can kind of see that it blew out, so this is not a perfect one. And we were trying to figure out what the shape is, and man, I still think this is a gorgeous cup. Like, it's super sexy. The thing is, I really want more of a taper here and a little bit more of a rounded shape. So we were still trying to play with it. And, but yeah, so they take this pottery and they put a glaze on it, and then they put the pottery in a barrel with newspaper. They burn it. So it gets this smoky color, and some of the other stuff they're putting on gets this kind of golden, glistening thing. It's really, really pretty. I wish we had continued with the project and really found a shape that really worked. I mean, ACF cups are nice. They've got a bit of a taper here, right? That's a nice thing. And then at Spro, we really used a lot of these. These are the Illy cups, and the Illys they've got that taper that we're talking about, and they got a nice bowl here. Like, this is a little bit too flat. I don't really like those flat ones like that. I want more of a bowl, and actually I'd like a little bit more tapered, right? So it's nice, and like, the thing that's important for me is that I want it to be comfortable on the lips, right? All right, but I'm going to use this because it's just kind of a nice one. All right, let's go into it. We're just going to drop it in. Hit the button. There we go. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. That's what we're looking for. Nice and elixiry, thick, robust crema, nice reddish brown color. It's a little bit getting loose. So we're stuck. It's getting a little bit loose there, a little bit loose. We don't want it too loose. We want it to be nice and tight. All right, let's have a look here. Oh, I should be showing you this. Let me show you on the other camera here. Look at that. That is, looks a little bit bright when it's close up, but there, that's a better representation of the color. But that is really what we're looking for when it comes to espresso. So let's have a taste. This particular coffee, it's a little bit brighter of a coffee, so it's got a little more like pungency, a little bit more of that juicy puckering from the brightness. Not necessarily the style of espresso that I always like to drink. I mean, I like a lot more chocolate, a lot more nuts, a little more fruit. And this is just really a coffee that we bought for pour over, for brewing coffee, right? So a generally acceptable brew. But as you can see, you can take any coffee and make it into espresso, and that's kind of the concentration of the flavors is very nice. Brian says, If I had known you were making espresso, I would have stopped by. I seriously would have stopped by. Well, you can always stop by. It's not like it's hard to set up a machine. And Mom is with us. How are you, Mom? Good to see you. All right. So let's go back to the purpose of our show today. All right. So this is the actual setup. It's all. I didn't use the studio lighting because I have to go around the room, and there's the areas that we're going to be like that space, and then the bookshelf is not really part of our normal set here, so it's always going to be a little bit. It would be out of light. But we're going to have a look at some books today. So one of the things I was working on the last couple of days was trying to redo the bookshelf here that sits above the desk. So this is actually my desk. Actually, I'll show you the. It looks like. Oops. It actually looks like this, right? So that's my desk here, and the books sit up there. Now the books were so heavy, like it was causing the shelf to sag. So I had to take everything out yesterday, and then re-level, and then brace it. So I put some braces in. You can kind of see them here. Right, you can see the brace right behind that light, behind this light. Right, you can see these braces, and that has allowed me to, reset it. So it's much nicer. Like I was starting to worry that once at some point they're going to start toppling off of the shelf because it was really kind of canted over about that much. And I was like, oh. When I first built it, I didn't think about the weight. And so, all right, so let's get to the book part. So over the years that I've been in the business, I've collected, I wouldn't say a lot of books. Like you should see my cookbook collection. It's ridiculous. Like it takes up way too much space. This is the coffee books, and it's actually very small, the collection. I don't know if that's necessarily due to the fact that there's not many coffee books made in the world, or if it's just a matter of, maybe I just haven't bought enough. All right, so let's get into it. If you see a book that you really, really want to see, let me know. I'll pull it down, show it to you. All right, so let's go up here. We're going to start from left to right. We've got these books here are made by the different coffee organizations, the national organizations of each country. So we've got this book here, Cafés de Costa Rica. It's all about, Costa Rican coffee. Cafés de El Salvador. As you can see, it's still in its plastic. I haven't opened that. That's very sad. And then, of course, the FNC, the Federación Nacional de Cafeteros in Colombia, has created the Juan Valdez book. This is the book about Juan Valdez. Juan Valdez. For some reason, they printed it upside down with this is printed the wrong way. If you held it and put it in vertical, so it'll be facing different directions. So I just line them up this way. This is from the department in Tolima. So this is all about Tolima coffee. Again, they printed it strangely. This is during their 80th anniversary when I was invited to come down and judge down there. This is La Marzocco's 80th anniversary book. That was a gift from La Marzocco. These were gift books. That was very nice. This book is Coffee Sapiens from El Bulli. We'll definitely get into that. And then these are some of the Japanese magazines. This is a Japanese a couple of these are like Brutus, right? Brutus and Nuber. These are all Brutus is a lifestyle magazine from Japan, right? And they've got like it says here, awesome coffee. Darn it, please get rid of that dirty coffee. And this is Brutus. Now Brutus upside down for you guys. But as you'll see here, it's a magazine from Japan, and this one has a lot about the coffee roasters and stuff like that. And I gotta adjust things around here to get so you can see it. But it's really, really a pretty, book. The way they write. I mean, the way they lay it out. I always love Japanese magazine design. It's very clean. It's very modern, very fresh. And you can't see that because the There, much better. So it's like this one's about different coffee roasters around I think in Tokyo. I can't read Japanese very well, so I really am just buying it for the pictures. And then maybe I can ask, Muneko or Chiaki to translate some of it, but it'd be ridiculous to ask them to translate everything. So that is Brutus. Then and they have several different issues that have come out over the years that feature coffee. Let me zoom out a little bit more. And if you can find these, you can get these here in the United States. There's a Japanese bookstore called Kinokuniya, and they have. I've got a. This is it. It's called Kinokuniya. Oh, can you see it? Ooh. There it is. Kinokuniya, and you can go to their. You can go to their website, or they have stores up in New Jersey and New York and different parts of the country. They've got a lot of books from Japan. And Brian says, we were all thinking of your book collection was going to come down. Yeah, it almost did. It almost did. Let me put this Brutus back. I got to try to keep things in order. All right, so another book that just came out. I just received this one. This is Jazz Kissa. If you don't know, I'm a big fan of Japanese Kissaten. And I found this guy, he posts on Instagram as Jazz Kissa, and he's released a series of books that chronicle his visits to different jazz Kissatens around the country. And I just got this in the mail when I was away. Really fascinating. It's mostly pictures. That's not very detailed. Instarator, who's one of the famous coffee guys down in Australia, wrote this book, The Espresso Quest. So if you're looking for something to really tell you about about espresso and stuff like that, this can be a good read, right? They talk about the coffee, the processing, the roasting, a full background of like coffee, and it's not too much reading because not too much text, which is good for people like me. So that's a nice one. Espresso Quest, that's a nice book. I don't know how difficult that is to get here in the United States. I'm sure I got in the United States because I did not go to Australia. Of course, James Hoffman. So this is James's book, World Atlas of Coffee. Talks about coffee in different places around the world that it comes from. Nice book. And then Scott Rayo has his Everything But Espresso and the Professional Barista's Handbook. I don't always agree with what he has to say, but it's nice to have his books on record. This is a new book that I recently got. This is by Jonathan Gagne, The Physics of Filter Coffee. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm babbling away and showing you this, and I'm not even looking. This is the Espresso Quest. Sorry, let's go back to that Espresso Quest. And then this is Jazz Kissa. I forgot to switch. My apologies. Like I said, The World of Coffee from James Hoffman. That's a nice book too. Then Scott Rayo's Professional Barista's Handbook and Everything But Espresso. Also, decent reads. And like I was saying here, The Physics of Filter Coffee. Actually, I'm going to be shaking too much for that. We'll turn this around here. This is something I just recently received. I just bought this. I heard it when it came out. I was like, oh, this sounds interesting. I have not, how much did it cost? It cost, it does not say. Yeah, actually, I'm telling you that I got it recently, but really, it looks like I ordered it on November 2021. So I guess it hasn't been that recent. And I still haven't read it. So there's a lot to, a lot of these books I have are more for reference. So in case I need to look up something. And so, he's very this book is, very calculating extraction yield. That seems very mathematical. And then there's science going on here. More graphs. Percolation. So this is quite interesting. It really digs down into the deep, what do you call it? Deep theories of coffee and the physics of the coffee. So that's an interesting book to have, I think. Let's go back here. Going back up. Another book that's interesting, a lot of people like, is The Blue Bottle Coffee, Craft of Coffee from James Freeman. Not a bad book. Coffee Obsession from James Hoffman's ex-girlfriend, Annette Moldvar, who is really the brains and beauty behind Square Mile. This is different barista techniques and recipes. And then my favorite cat, Tim Wendelboe. This is Coffee, his first book. This is actually in multiple, what do you call it? Multiple languages. That's very nice of him. He wrote this. He congratulates U.S. champion. Good luck in the WAC from Tim. I think this was a gift. Oh, this was a gift, a prize from the United States AeroPress Championship in 2012 when I won it. So this is one of my prizes. And then he's got his second book, The Finca Tamana. And Tim's got Tim's always got a very stylish approach to things. And here's my favorite part. FUJ, thanks for I do love that guy. So he talks about Finca Tamana and his approach. And, the interesting thing is that Tamana is a place that Tim has been working with for a long time. And he bought some land from the farmer that owns it and has started production of his own coffee on his own farm. So he's really taking it to a whole nother level, and Tim's really, of all the baristas that I've met in the world and that I know and are friends with, he's really someone that I think is really thinking on a whole nother level. He's really way out there, ahead of the pack. While there are certain other people that people love and are the more famous ones, Tim's really the one that I think is truly the barista's barista. He won the world championship, and he's one of the few world champions that have continued in the craft, meaning that he's still, operating as a barista, thinking as a barista, running shops and giving experiences to customers. A lot of the baristas that seem to have, the world champions have seemed to move on to other things within the coffee business, but not necessarily directly in touch with the guests. Another person that's like that is Hidezaki, who has his own little place now called Cocoon in Tokyo, which is truly an out of this world experience. But we'll get more into that on the channel, as you'll see. Let's see what else we have up here in our collection. This is a book about coffee from Japan. Can't read it. Nice pictures. Techniques of Top Baristas. That's a cool book. Can't read it either. The Coffee Book. This is kind of a cool book. It's also from Japan. And it just kind of lays out different styles of making coffee. Let's put this back here. That's upside down. There we go. That's better. This one's Cafe of Costa Rica. That's a cute little book. This is an interesting one. Alan Halevi is a big guy at Google. He was one of the early guys at Google, so he's made quite a bit of money. This is his book. It's called The Infinite Emotion of Coffee. This is available on Amazon. And it's really kind of his personal chronicle of coffee, from his perspective. And he's not an industry person. And he talks about coffee at Google. Here's coffee. Look at that. They've got these big machines at Google. But it's a nice exploration of coffee from a little bit of different perspective. In our world of specialty coffee, we have this very we have a very narrow view. We have a very specific way of looking at things, where this is really about kind of a regular person, an outsider, looking at the world of coffee, not necessarily trying to be an insider. By no means, this guy has no need to make the scandalous amount of money that people in coffee make compared to what he must be making at Google. So he can go in and just talk about coffee and be an enthusiast about coffee, looking and sharing his thoughts about it in this book. I thought that was really nice. So I'm happy to have that in my collection. Let's see what else we have up here. We've got this book from Michael Weissman. This is the kind of the one that launched everybody's kind of careers or notoriety. God in a Cup. She follows Dwayne Sorensen and the guy from Intelligentsia, and I can't think of his name. Anyway, she follows them around the world, talking about coffee, exploring specialty coffee in the early days, about 20 years ago. This is a book, Barako, from the Philippines. And so Barako is a big It's the Liberica bean, and it's very popular in the Philippines, and people really love it. It's kind of a natural processed. I dig it. I dig it. So that's kind of a cute book. This one is from Colin Harmon, who runs 3FE in Dublin. What I know about running coffee shops. This is more of an industry type of book, but it's really quite. If you run your own coffee shop, there's some good anecdotes in there. And Sean Steinman wrote this one, the Hawaii Coffee Book, Gourmet's Guide from Kona to Kauai. So it's really his exploration about coffee through Hawaii. Now, if you're not familiar with Sean, Sean is a coffee scientist. He's really an expert in coffee growing and being out in Hawaii. I'm kind of jealous of him, and the guys are out in Hawaii. This is an interesting book that was gifted to me. I haven't read this, but Fair Trade for All: How Trade Can Promote Development. I think it talks about the ideals of fair trade and how it can help people. The reality, unfortunately, on the ground is a little bit different. This one it was gifted to me from I think it was from Costa Rica. Le degustazione del caffè, coffee tasting. Oh, I guess degustazione. Maybe this is probably in Italian. Let's see. I haven't really looked at this one. Oh no, this is in English. So it's in both English and so it was a gift. From Caledonia. That was very nice work. So when I was down in Honduras, she gifted this to me. That was very nice, and it's both in Italian. So Costa Rica has long been on the cutting edge when it comes to washed coffee. Il Costa Rica ha da sempre una pasea della vanguardia del. I can't read Italian. I'm not gonna front. If you want to learn about the history of coffee, this one from Mark Pendergrast, great book, Uncommon Grounds, History of Coffee and How It Transformed Our World. And it looks at it from both the good side and the bad, and there's a lot of bad. As with any kind of trade with indigenous people, there's always a lot of bad. David Schomer, who's kind of the godfather of espresso in the United States and actually in third wave coffee, his espresso coffee professional techniques was the Bible back in about 20 years ago. Still very relevant today, I think. And then Rob Hoos, if you're interested in roasting, his Modulating Flavor Profile of Coffee. This was his first book. And Rob is a great roaster. Lots of thoughts on roasting. Really, really great. This is a book that I think is really, really great. Bald Head Racing, what's going on, man? Lots of books. I thought, it's really not that many. Like, that's really the entire collection right there. I don't know. I feel like you really, if I showed you my cookbook collection, that's too many. This is a book here called Kissa by Kissa from Craig Mott. I found this book maybe about a year ago, and December 2022. And this is a guy who I just came across while researching Kissa tens in Japan. And back during the early parts of the pandemic, he's a big fan of pizza toast. And what he did is he went to, you'll actually see some of this there's a video on the channel that is about the Nori Sando. And the Nori Sando is a place from Cafe Ace in Kanda in Tokyo. And Craig was the one that turned me on to it. He was like, hey, man, I said to him, hey, what's the place I should check out? And he said, go check this place out. And there's a couple places I wanted to check out in here. But what he did, and I was looking for the map. There's a map somewhere in here. Here it is. He basically walked from Kyoto to Tokyo and back down to Kamakura during 2020 along what's called the Nakasendo Trail. And he stopped at all these Kissa tens along the way. And this is the chronicle of his journey. And he took his own photos, and it's really nicely done. And I am a big fan of Japanese Kissa tens. So it's really, so they're like, here, this is some of the, what do you call that? The pizza toast. He's a real big pizza toast fan. I went to, on his recommendation, and from this book, I went to Cafe Ace in Kanda, and then I also went to Bugin in Kamakura. That's another great place to go. Will be featured on the channel soon. This is actually the first book from Mary White. It's called Coffee Life in Japan. And this is really where I started to explore more about Kissa ten and learning more about different Kissa ten. the problem with Mary White's thing, there's some that she identifies. Like she writes extensively about my favorite coffee shop, Kisaten, called Cafe du Spro. But she writes about other places that I think would be fascinating to visit, but she doesn't provide any kind of name in some of them, and she doesn't provide any kind of address. So it's like, how am I? There's this one lady she writes about that runs this really small Kisaten. Maybe it's closed by now because this book is well over 10 years old by now. Yeah, 2012. And, I would have gone there over the years to these places, but, she provided no reference and no location. So such a shame. There's missing out. I wish she put that all down there. What else do we have up here? This is a gift for, are we getting with dark here? Sorry, I know I'm all shaky. I'm trying to see if I can. This one here is by Isabella Rapusera. It's called O Livro da Barista. This is an interesting book. I can't read it because I can't read Portuguese. Isabella is like the most famous of coffee people in Brazil. If you talk about especially coffee in Brazil, her name is synonymous with that. And she's kind of sexy. So, like I totally was crushing on her when we were hanging out. I was like, oh my gosh, you're like, so you're both, you look like Katy Perry, which I love, and you're so into coffee. You're like doing innovative coffee things, and then you're a pilot and you smoke cigars. It's like, oh my gosh, like what? How could I not fall in love with her, right? So I was like, but she was really kind, and we hung out for a bit, and she gave me this book. She was like, this is my book. It's my last copy, but I'd like you to have it, even though I know you can't read it. I was like, well, that's very kind. I love it. I love it. I'm so happy to have it. This is The Art of Arabic Coffee. This is a book I got in Saudi Arabia talking about Arabic coffee. I'm still trying to learn about Arabic coffee, right? There's so much to understand about it. Oh, here's my little Avengers. Got to get that out of the way. This is a gift from John Townsend. So if you're not familiar with Townsend is it's a Townsend's on YouTube, and they do a lot of 18th century reenactments of American life. And I went to visit, and because I was buying a jacket from them, and I went to visit them over New Year's in Indiana, and we got to talk about coffee because one of the guys on his channel, the big guy, he bought his own coffee company as well. And so John was like, hey, man, I want you to have this. And it's the Dome Stick Coffee Man, showing the time of preparing coffee in the old days. And I really had to go through it because I really want to bring some of the recipes that are in here to the channel. So that's something I got to work on in the coming months. Another coffee is from Maxwell Kelowna Dashwood. If you know Maxwell is one of the former United Kingdom champions. And he's also a grand critic of the barista competitions. I love hearing his criticisms of it, but he got together with Christopher Hendon, and both of those are like science guys, right? And so they wrote this about water for coffee. So it goes all into water, like all about water and how it relates to coffee. It's really technically detailed. I've had this since 2015, I think. And chemistry about water. As you can see, it's not broken here, so really I haven't read any of it. Again, these are for reference, right? So periodic table, don't know what any of that means. No, I'm just kidding with that. So this, I've perused through it, but really, I'll be honest with you, like, look at this thing right here. So, or a deportation, i.e. HCO8. I don't even know what that means. I can't even read that. It is just a bunch of gibberish, to my like very, very parochial mindset or my parochial understanding. What else do we have here? We've got water activity in the green coffee from Cafe Imports. This is interesting. So like, if you're not familiar with water activity is a different form of moisture measurement. So we measure the moisture and density of a green coffee. And for a long time, we were measuring water activity to feed information to a larger group so that we can find a way to correlate what does water activity have to do with coffee freshness and coffee quality. Now, we want to have 55 WA around that area for coffee, for green coffee, for it to be nice, But how does that really translate into like long-term quality? I think we're still in this brings some light to it, but we're really still in the infancy of understanding that, at least, especially from me. I don't really understand that. This one is a book by a friend of mine, Andy Newbaum, Coffee Spanish for Coffee Buyers. This is kind of an interesting one. So, like, if you were like me and relatively illiterate. Hi, Lucia. How are you, Lucia? Let's see. Good morning. I love this. So much fun seeing people's coffee books. Like, oh, nice. You need We Belong, an anthology of Colombian women. Oh, I would love to get that. So I will put that on my list to look up. Do you know if it's on Amazon? We'll look that up. And then Bald Head Racing. What's amazing is there is almost no overlap. I see Hoffman's Atlas, Who's Modulating, see Rao being Rao, Rao being Rao, CD's Water Book, which I also have not read. Yeah, you know, that's a tough one to read. Like Maxwell has done a good job with that. And so here is so it's signed by the author. You know, that's one of the privileges. But you know, I think it's kind of fun, right? Like I haven't read this one so much because I just enjoy reading anecdotes every once in a while out of it, but just to like practice on let's see. So here, like he talks here, a quintal, right? Quintal is X kilos of cherry. Typically a quintal is actually, well, kin would be more 50, but really I think quintals, when we're talking quintales, it's typically 100 pounds, or just 50 kilos. So there it is, 50 pounds. And so, you know, a lot of times, some places will sell it by the quintal or quintales. What else? And so here's interesting, when you talk about Spanish, like I learned Mexican style Spanish. So like llores and, you know, llorar, like a certain diction and dialect and way of pronunciation is what I learned because, you know, I was in Mexico mostly. And other nations are so different. Like, you know, if I go down to like Miami, down to Little Havana, and to where a lot of Cubans are, they do that slurring, that rush, and it's like, huh? It's like, ¿qué? And then when I go to Nicaragua's, they like to what is it? They swallow the S, right? They don't really pronounce the S. So como ta? They're like, what? Como what? Como what? Como qué? So like in those places, it really takes me like a day. And like I'm already at a deficit because I can't speak very well. And so when I go to these places that have different dialects of Spanish, it's like, oh, I really need to, like I'm really sitting there concentrating, like, oh, what is he saying? Okay, blah. You know, and you don't want to be like, you know, you try not to be too much like, oh, oops, see. Like I go to the market, right? I go to the market to buy like the concha. And they're talking to me, like, I don't know why. I don't look Mexican. I look Filipino, right? I'm Asian, right? So they're talking, and I'm just like, sí, bueno. I understand maybe about 35% of what they're saying. But I'm like, bueno. So, okay. Luego. You know, they're talking to the money. You know, they're really saying $1.25. So maybe they're saying uno 25. Luckily, I already know how much it costs, so I only buy one. So I'm like, here's my dollar, here's my quarter. Muchas gracias. Luego. And then I'm on the way. So, you know, as one of my friends was telling me when I was in Malaysia, we were hanging out finally. We haven't seen each other in many years. Her and her husband we're all good friends. And Hiroko's like, you know, for the first 3 months that we were friends, I really had no idea what you were talking about. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, she was just learning English, right? We were all like 19 years old, and she's like fresh from Japan, and she's like, yeah, I didn't understand anything for 3 months. I was like, she would just laugh along with us. It was like, I was like, okay, that's pretty much what I do. All right, so let's keep on continuing. That's Coffee Spanish. This is a fun book. Like if you want to understand Spanish in a coffee context, this really does help. Like I should actually take this with me when I go on to visit farms, but truth of the matter is most of the farmers that I end up working with, they all speak English too. So, and they all know that Americans are dumb and, you know, that kind of thing. All right, let's keep continuing with our tour. So this one by Turback is called Coffee Drinks. And why do I have this cute little book? But I have it because, let's see here. Here, look at that. I'm in the book. I got a recipe in here. PBJ from Spro Coffee. And this is so as you can see here, we have Concord grapes, ice cubes, gelatin, gelée. We're making a gelée. So this is actually a drink that I had developed that I was thinking about using. Did I use it? I think I did use it in a competition. And I wanted to have frozen like grapes. But the problem with the grapes is that you have, when you eat grapes, you're eating it, and there's always a little bit of bitterness, right? There's that the skin has a bit of tannic and bitterness to it, right? That just, no matter how sweet, like even those like cotton candy grapes, there's a little bit of bitterness there, right? A little bit of tannicness when you bite into it because of the skin. So the whole thing was to remove the skin. Remove the skin and, coat it with peanut butter. And then you'd use that in the drink. I don't remember actually all the details because it's been like, I don't know, 15 years since I made that drink. And but the idea was to have that, and then the more difficult. So what that means is that you have to peel the grapes. And you're peeling like the grapes. And that's really like, have you ever tried to peel grapes? It's not really fun. The other side was that we wanted to have the grapes kind of hanging. Right? That's what I wanted it to be on this little stand, and the grapes would hang from their own vines. So peeling the grapes while keeping them on the stems, gosh, that was my attempt at being like, Ferran Adria. And I was like, I'm no Ferran Adria. I'd like to go eat at his restaurant, but I don't know if I can make that. So all right. So if you want something, coffee drinks, I don't know if it's still in production, but this is my claim to fame. My one time being published. Very exciting for me. Probably you're probably it's whatever. All right. So let's keep continuing on. We got a few more left. We've got Danos here, guarding the Monk of Mocha. I read part of this book, and this is about Ahmad al-Manshi, right? And he's like this guy that's been importing coffee from Yemen, and and he has been kidnapped and not necessarily tortured. I mean, but you're being kidnapped. That's a form of torture. Like he's been kidnapped. But as you can see, I haven't really got very far in the book, but it's nicely written. It's a nice read. I wish I had time to finish reading it. I'll get to it eventually. And then what else we have? We have this Espresso book. This is a book made by, I forgot his name. Oh, no, this one, Latte Art Barista Style. This is by Hiroshi. Hiroshi, I can't remember his name. I've been to his shop. He used to have a shop in Shinagawa, in a southern part of Metro Tokyo. But he had, and this book is probably from like 2008 or something like that. But he talks about his style of latte art. And like all of this Rosetta stuff looks really kind of commonplace now, but back then, cutting edge. This was like the bleeding edge of espresso making in the day and the time that this was released. So really an interesting book, nice book to have. Another one is this other one, the Espresso book, also from Japan. I get all these Japanese books because I'm fascinated with the way they do things, and I'm fascinated with, their thoughts and like the way they do the layout of book design. But I can't read any of it unless I can use Google Translate. Maybe I can use Google Translate. Yet another book. This is by my like spirit animal, Ichiro Sekiguchi. So here he talks about smoking. He's a big pipe guy, and coffee. The virtues of smoking and coffee. My friend Moo got it for me. Very nice virtues, so kind. But of course, it's all in Japanese and in the old school Japanese. Like this is not new school Japanese. This is old school. Yeah, there's something I can read. Andrew Vincent on Friday Street. Whatever that means, I don't know. He's talking about it. But, Master Sekiguchi was really someone that was truly an innovator in his time. Unfortunately, he passed away in 2018. And I was able to I was there right when he passed away. Not but it happened to arrive like the day or a couple of days after he passed. And now that I think about it, 2023, 2018, I can't believe how fast time has gone by since he passed. But this is a guy that when he's so obsessed with coffee and what he wants to do that he will make it. Like we were talking earlier today about making that mug, that little cup, an espresso cup. Like, we ran into some troubles and we got a little bit layawayed, and so we eventually, maybe we'll come back to it, but essentially it was abandoned, right? This guy, he's like not abandoned, nothing. He didn't like the cups, he makes his own cups. He doesn't like the kettle that's available to him, he made his own kettle. He's not happy with coffee grinders, he makes his own coffee. I mean, it's really like psychosis on a whole new level, which I always tend to gravitate towards. So Cafe del Hombre, this one is, I wish I could read it. I wish I could understand it. I bought it because I saw it, that it was available on Japanese Amazon. So I asked my friend Moo to buy one for me. And she was like, I'll just send it to you. I was like, you don't have to send it. Just hold on to it till I come back and I'll get it from you then. And she sent it to me, and I'm really grateful. I wish I could read it. But I figured I might as well grab it so that I'll have it in case one day things change and I can possibly read. All right, let's have a look at the last couple of things we have here. We've got a book from Cafés de Colombia. Again, this one I haven't opened. I hadn't opened one of these at the Hamden shop. And then we got a bunch of these 25 magazines. These are kind of like the things that the Specialty Coffee Association issues every... Ooh, sorry, I'm all like giving you my tummy. But let's go back to this. Like I said, this is Cafés de Colombia. I had to open one of these at the shop in Hamden. I don't know where that one went. And then this is 25. And let me show you this one. 25 is the SCA Journal. And they do, I don't really know what they do. I grab them and I don't really read them. But they talk about, I don't know, climate change and coffee quandary. Jago and smell the coffee. Jago. I shouldn't say those kind of things. This is a family channel. Color. So there's some interesting thing here. I guess you can contact the Specialty Coffee Association. Maybe they'll send you one. Maybe you can buy it on their online store. I don't know, something like that. And then what else do we have up here? We've got this one has a bunch of like odds and ends, nicks and knacks, like little brochures and stuff that I may have picked up along the way. Some of the competitors' pamphlets that they give out. And then we've got a couple of tea books here. So I don't have too much on tea. Again, more books from Japan about tea that I can't read. TWG, which is a Asian tea company based in Hong Kong or Singapore. This is their tea book. This is kind of I just liked it. It's more about a catalog about what they offer and a little bit of history, but that's a fun one. More green tea. This is like the book of green tea from Japan. Now, if you ever get to Tokyo, and you'd like to try green teas, there is a place called the Sakurai Tea Experience. And that is truly a wonderful experience. I totally recommend going to it. So if you have the chance to go to Sakurai, it's excellent. It's worth the time. What else we have here? We've got the Rishi catalog. I like Rishi stuff. This one, this is the Batil catalog. If you're not familiar with Batil, if you like dates, Batil is the place for dates. Like, look at that. It's like luxury dates, and they stuff them with like nuts and stuff. And they say the quality of the dates that from Saudi Arabia are way better. But I think Batil has just delicious. Get the sukari filled with pistachio. Oh my God. It's really, sadly, there's really, as far as I know, there's no Batil in the United States, which really is it's our loss. It truly is our loss. What else do we have up here? Tea Sommelier Handbook. That's interesting. This one is a little bit crazy. I got this a few years ago from George Bernardini. This is the chocolate reference standard. If you're into chocolate and you want to learn about chocolate, this is the book to have. This book is absolutely ridiculous. Aztec Bottomfish says, you are who to listen to while I'm eating Well, thank you very much. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're enjoying breakfast. What are you having for breakfast? Let us know. if you want to learn about like chocolate and know everything about chocolate, this will tell you. So they will even give ratings on the quality of the chocolate. So, and they're brutal, like brutal to American chocolates. Like we're really, like, let's see, like Gerbeau, Heilman, let's see, Hotel Chocolat. Ooh, Pierre Hermé. What does he say about Pierre Hermé? Pierre Hermé, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6. Okay, good. Pierre Hermé. So here's it. Pierre Hermé. You ever go to Paris? I think there's some outlets in Japan. Everybody talks about La Durée. La Durée, don't get me wrong. La Durée is good. Very good for the macarons, right? Excellent. This guy is fantastic. Like, unbelievable. Like, I went to his place first time in like 2008 in Paris in the 6th, and I was just totally blown away. Like, the flavors that he does, the stuff. I mean, he's really at a whole nother level. Okay, Hershey. We need Hershey. Here, the Hershey Company. This is so bad, it doesn't even get a rating. 0. All right, so, you know, the French, they don't like American stuff. That's really what it is. Okay, so let's go back to what I was telling you, the book we're going to go to. This is Coffee Sapiens. And this is, oh my gosh, this is a tome. A tome. Like, this is the reference stand for chocolate. It is a tome. Look at that thing. That's super ridiculous. It's super. This is made by Ferran Adria of El Bulli. Now, you know Ferran. If you're into culinary, you know Ferran. And, you know, I got to be honest. When I first heard that he was coming out with this book, I was like, come on, man. What does Ferran Adria know about coffee? Yes, I will turn to Ferran for pretty much anything food. But coffee, please, spare me. Uh-oh. My battery's dead. Okay, put that aside. Gosh, how long is the live stream running? Oh, yeah, no wonder it's dead. So we have Coffee Sapiens. Oops. And I'm not going to zoom out. It's so big, I got to zoom out. All right, see that little fly? Let's see if we can. It's like death and destruction here. It's like murder and mayhem going on here. Rusty's with us. What's going on, Rusty? I always waited for a review of the El Bulli coffee book. Okay, this thing is utterly ridiculous. It's such a big book. But there's not that much knowledge of coffee in the world to fit in this book. Like, I don't know. He must be like, fluffing it up or something, right? But I gotta say, man, like when I first opened it, like I don't even know. It's so big. Like, it's so big. Like, what do you do with this book? Like, how do you utilize it in a regular setting? I don't know. But it is. Now, I think I have a couple more El Bulli books or Adria books at home from Kitchen Arts and Letters and signed. I got this back in October 2019. I think I got this during the last Star Chefs conference. Wish they would bring that back. But as you can see, he's got all these sections here. Like coffee, when and where to drink. He talks about the setting, the offering and the experience. Like, it's just a whole different way of thinking about coffee. And man, I really haven't taken the time to try to look to. So he gives you the basic listing here, right? Give overview. And then so this is just the headline of the chapter. Then he gets like a little bit of a teaser of the chapters right here. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the chapters here, because I'm really going to hit you with a lot of detail when you get into it, right? So now we're in look at him, like the wizard of coffee. Like, what does he think? Who does this guy think he is? He's a food guy. Talks about the Bullipedia. Okay, he's just he's so filled with information. What is coffee? The sapient definition. So it's a little bit more. Let me just do some adjusting so that hopefully it's better. Okay, but as you can see here, he gets into it. Let's go a little bit deeper into the book. He talks about terroir. I mean, if you were a guy that really likes James Hoffman's book about coffee, the Atlas, like this is just like blowing it away. It's just like he's just like attacking it on all levels. Like you just can't. Talks about look at the pruning, or like the basic like stuff about the like, a coffee producer could use this information. Well, it probably got the information from a coffee producer. So it talks about really in depth, and the book is big, so it's easy to read. Pest resistance and disease, things like that. We talk about that here about the impact of pests on the flavors. I mean, he's really getting into it. Like look at this. I mean, it's filled with information. Now we're talking about roasting. I guess it's roasting, how to roast, things about, storage and transportation. These are things that I would never think to cover in a book about coffee. But like, oh yeah, we make coffee. We like coffee. They even talks about like larger scale, like bowl roasters. So he really goes, tangential roasting machines. Like he's really, we stay all in drum roasting, right? Because we're just kind of like, especially coffee weenies. He's really covering the larger scale of things so that you get a complete overview of the industry as a whole. Here, Lavazza and other stuff. Nice. Not so nice. Not so nice. And then back down to this old school style of Arabic brew, roasting of coffee. Like he's really going deep here. We've got like the old Gotthard type of roaster, just like, he's going deeper than anybody else. Like this is pretty much, if you want one book to buy to learn about coffee, this is really the one to buy. And I think it's quite expensive. I don't recall how much it costs. I think it's like, oh, there it is. Baldhead says $626. I did not pay $626. I did not pay that much money. I know I paid quite a bit, but I did not pay that much. That's craziness. That's like buying books from what's the guys? Rusty, who is the guys that does the the ones that Dave Arnold has worked with, the guys out in Seattle that have they have like a big, I have their first series of books. Modern cooking, right? Modernist pantry, modernist cooking. So I got the first series of tokens. They have modernist baker. I never got to buy that. I was like, I'm not spending $500. I should buy it. But this is to that level, right? If you know about modernist cooking, cuisine, or whatever it's called, this is to that level. Like this is just craziness. It's crazy. And you're right, baldhead. It's craziness. Crazy. Lavazza sponsored the Coffee Sapient books. We could. Oh, the Illy book. I have the Illy book. That's what's missing. Where did that Illy book go? Maybe it's at home still. Huh. I'm glad you said something about that. I totally had forgotten about that. Rusty says, I honestly, what coffee pros like Ken Davids or James Hoffman feel about, I don't know, because this is something that people in coffee don't seem to talk about. I think that this is kind of an affront to specialty coffee people. Like, who's this Ferran Adria guy? Yeah, he's famous for El Bulli and doing all this amazing work, but who is he to write a book about our business? I think maybe that's, no one's ever articulated that. I'm just saying that maybe that's what's in the back of people's mind, that only James Hoffman can pontificate about coffee. I don't know. Aztec Bottom Fish says, what am I having? Fresh Utah tomatoes. FUT's the best. Excellent. Mozzarella cheese and garlic with turmeric and paprika. Oh, I'll have to try that. Turmeric and paprika on tomatoes. I got a bunch of fresh tomatoes here. I'm like up here in tomatoes right now. I'm like drowning in tomatoes. I'm like, okay, today I'm gonna make a galette or maybe a Provençal style, galette essentially. I made some dough yesterday to do that, so that's really my plan. And I had to go home and grab my little bottle of Herbes de Provence. And really crappy coffee. Sorry, man. You come buy coffee from Stroke, link down below. And then, oh yeah, Rusty says, did you look at the blue? Oh yeah, that's right. Let's take a break for that. I think that's really why I bought it. I don't know why I bought this. I don't know what I'm buying this for. This is the Blue Bottle Crafted Coffee. Like Rusty said, his mom is in this book. So let's have a look at Lori. I know her as Lori because I met her many years ago before I met Rusty. So here we are. Let's have a look. Let's have a look here. Zoom in some. Farmer profile, Lori Obra from Hawaii. And so here she is, picking coffee from the trees. So this old auntie, this old tita is all like working out there. The crazy thing, when I first met her in 2008, like I was introduced to Rusty's mom by Miguel Meza. Miguel and I have been friends since we both started the industry about 20 years ago. And he was like, hey man, when you come to Hawaii, you need to go visit Lori. And I was like, all right, I'll go visit Lori. So I went out to Pahala and met her, and she was this totally amazing Filipino woman that's like my mom. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's totally like my mom. And I was like, I didn't know you're Filipino. She was like, I didn't know you're Filipino either. She was like, if I knew you're Filipino, I would have made you bibingka. And I was like, I wish I had told you I was Filipino. So, she's been making her own coffees for, I don't know, 20 years, Rusty, or something like that. It's really, really fantastic. Really fantastic. And the coffees she makes are really some of the best I've had in the world. Consistently some of the best. Oh, yeah, there's even more. See, there she is, right there. Working with the beans. So, yeah, actually, so buy this book for that reason alone. He talks a little bit about siphon and some other stuff. I don't really know. I think really that's why I bought this book, because Lori's in here, your mom's in here, because I don't know why I buy a book from Blue Bottle. But anyway, back to this one. So as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff. Baldhead says that Ken Davids has a new revised book out. Oh, I bought a coffee but haven't had the chance to read it yet. I should buy one, because I could always use another book that's on the shelf that I never will get around to. All right, so as you can see, this is the Coffee Sapiens. He talks about coffee here in America. And of course, look at what he puts here. Like, this is just shame. This is like a plague on our house right here. Like, this kind of like Frappuccino kind of stuff. Like he has no love for us. At least he puts the Coffee in Japan section. He has some of the machines. So definitely it's a Lavazza sponsored stuff, because see a lot of Lavazza. But you know what? There is a lot of solid information. He even gives you recipes. And Aztec says, somehow the coffees you are describing have eclipsed the reality of my crappy coffee. And oh, excellent. And it suddenly tastes better. Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Ooh, look at this little shakerado. Kind of boring now in 2023. Filter coffee with the Chemex. I should do that recipe and see if we approve. So it's really a lot. Like, it's just a lot. Like, I have not been able to really even go through it and digest it. He's really hitting you with something. Now, of course, I can't imagine that he made this. Like, he didn't write. He obviously had to have a team, maybe a good number of people from Lavazza themselves that are helping him prepare the information in the book. But there's a lot. Like, the nice thing about this, though, he kind of gives you an overview of what leads me to choose a coffee bar, talking about the mentality of the guest and how they may be thinking about going and experiencing their coffee. So he talks about the journey to the bar, entering the bar, the welcome, arriving at the bar, the exterior. So the exterior, like thinking about how does your place look like. This is some nice stuff. So, so if you're opening your own cafe and you're thinking about that and you really want it, this will help you to get your mindset. I think it'll help you figure that out. Maybe save you some money on a consultant if you're not really strong in your vision yet. Just don't buy Lavazza. Come on, man. I wonder how much it costs new. I guess maybe if it's $600 now used, maybe it's no longer in print. But I don't know. If let's say, like, if you're someone that's starting out and you want to get into the coffee business and you're like, oh, I don't really know anything about coffee, $600, that's cheap consulting right there. It's cheap consulting. You just got to take the time to sit here and read the book and glean all of its lessons. Granted, something from Ferran Adria is going to give you a lot of unique insight and a different paradigm of thinking. than the typical like coffee weenie like myself is going to tell you, oh, you only need to buy geisha, and you always have to buy the Loring, and you have to buy the, I don't know, whatever the hot espresso machine is today, things like that. We don't want to do that. We're not going to do that. So, it's a hell of a book. It's a hell of a book. All right. So close that up without destroying my book cover. All right. That's, you know what I do with my espresso? Here it is. My espresso is still here. Still have a little bit left. Let's see the espresso, right? The Nicaragua, the crema is all gone by now. It's cold. It's got a bit of bitterness, a bit of brightness, body and rich. This is actually quite juicy and it's got that lingering. It's like back when I started with espresso, the idea is that you wanted to have this thick, syrupy espresso that had long legs. You come in, and you always love those espresso aficionados that come in and they kind of shoot it. And the idea was that that flavor now that's on my palate, right, this rich coffeeness, will linger for the next half an hour. So that as you're going about your day, you're heading off to, I don't know, so wherever you're going, to the office, that you're sitting there, like there right now, like, oh, it's super like thick and viscous on my palate. Oh, this is what it. Dan's asking, what is the cup? So the cup, like I said before, this is actually let me get the last bit out of there. This is actually a prototype that back about 20 years ago, I was thinking, I want to make my own cups for Spro. And so I went to a friend of mine who's a wonderful Raku pottery artist, and he was making cups for me. We made a few different cups. I don't have any of the other ones here. We were trying different styles, and this was one of them. And I was like, hey, let's do some in Raku. And this was one of the tests. Unfortunately, this one, which was fairly deep, turned out fairly well. The problem was that we had a blowout here at the bottom, right? So you can see the blowout. During the firing, it blew this out, and that was really disappointing because the Raku style of the pottery is just beautiful. So the guy's name is Ramon Camarillo. He used to be based in Virginia. He's from Hawaii originally, and he's a good friend of mine. He now is living on the Big Island, and I don't know if he's still doing pottery. He plays ukulele. He's like a virtuoso. Like if you ever hear like Jake Shimabukuro or even Tamane that are virtuosos on ukulele, like he is of that level. Like he's like amazing, but he just plays out in Kona and at different bars and for happy hour or whatever. But he's also a Raku artist, and he typically does really big work. So this is really different for him, really small. And I would kind of love to go back and revisit this, because what I didn't, I was trying to figure out, bowl shape as well as tapering. Like I really like this. This isn't bad, right? You can see it. It's a thickness. It's a little bit thick. I would like it to be a little bit thinner. Like actually, tasting it now, it's not really a big deal. But the thinner you go especially with Raku pottery, it can be a little bit more, I guess, dangerous because you'll get blowouts. You get different things that'll happen. I wish this was not blown. I could probably fill it with some epoxy so it would sit, but it sits fairly well, right? Like if you look at it, it doesn't really, like I could cause it to rock, but it won't roll over. It will right itself, but it's just not perfect. That was the thing. So maybe I should go back and see if we can revisit this. But yeah, that's who it is. Ramon Camarillo. All right. Well, I've babbled on a lot now for about almost 1 hour and 10 minutes, which is probably boring, and I should get off. But these are the books that I have in my collection. I think a lot of them are worth buying. If you have an interest in it, like the Japanese books are, like I said, those are kind of like my personal fetish. Like I'm all like into their layout and design, and I like the photos that they do, and I would one day hope to glean the information that's locked in the kanji and hiragana. But definitely Coffee Sapiens is an excellent buy. A lot of you have probably already bought the James Hoffman books. I think James has two. I think I only have the one, the World Atlas of Coffee. What are the other ones that are really worth? Coffee Obsession's okay. Like, I don't know. I think Uncommon Grounds is a great book to have out. The coffee history. Yeah. What else? What else might be good? Like I told you, I do like the Kissa by Kissa, but that's also kind of more, specialized in interest. The Tim Wendelboe book is very good. The Coffee with Tim Wendelboe, that's a worthwhile investment. So I would say, if you wanted to just get a basic coffee book selection, maybe I guess I'm going to say the James Hoffman book, The World Atlas of Coffee, mainly because, everybody says you should buy that book. So maybe I don't want to be left out. Coffee with Tim Wendelboe, that's a good buy. The one really, if you can get it, Coffee Sapiens. Maybe this is the number one of them all. I mean, you could like if somebody breaks into your house or your shop, you just take this sucker and I almost lost control of that one. Don't do that at home. Children, it's very dangerous. And then if you really want to get deep into like the scienciness of it, the Water for Coffee's book, the what's the other one? Do I have it down here? The Physics of Coffee Brewing, of Filter Coffee Brewing. Those are some good ones. Yeah. Baldhead says that the Coffee Sapiens is out of print. Guess that's why it's so expensive. Okay. Civitz's roasting book and Illy are also expensive now. Yeah, where is that Illy book? I don't know. It's somewhere. Maybe I'll have to spend another $300 for it. But yeah, those are good. So Coffee Sapiens, yeah, that's going to be expensive. Okay, sadly that's $600. I think I bought one of the last ones they had at Culinary Kitchen Arts and Letters. Because I remember, I think when I was at this show, they were like, "Yeah, this is the last one. Oh, I'll buy that." Maybe it was 300. I don't know, 150. I think 150 back then. Maybe it was more. And then Aztec says, "Love your analysis, especially the Japanese." Oh, thank you. That's very kind. That's very kind. I'm actually a big fan of Japanese Kissa-tens. Like I try to, whenever I'm in Japan, I try to go to as many as possible. I was in Japan in June for a week, and I was just like nonstop, just trying to go from coffee place to coffee place to coffee place successively, and probably drinking too much coffee. But the nice thing to offset the coffee and the eating is the walking. Like you walk everywhere in Japan, and it's like, man, it's just exhausting. Like I was like in such pain. Like the last like 3 days of the trip, I'm like, oh, my legs are really in pain now. Well, Aztec, I hope the breakfast was good. All right, so time for me to head out. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you have a great weekend. What are you guys doing this weekend? Anything interesting? Here in Baltimore, there's Artscape that's coming to town. That starts today and runs through Sunday. That's a big arts and music festival. Normally it's in July, but this year they moved it to this year and it's totally mucked up everybody, right? There's other festivals that normally happen this time. You muck those up. Traffic, and like it's in the summertime, so they close off a lot of the city core. Not a big deal in the summer because there's no school, right? And it's just people on vacation. Now, gosh, it's like everybody's upset. Like it's just a total cluster here. So I'm not going to do that. I'm going to head up, I think, tomorrow to the Paw Paw Festival in York, Pennsylvania. So if you're not familiar with Paw Paw is this like regional type of fruit that people freak out for. Like I've had it a number of times. I mean, I enjoy it. I don't really freak out over it, but like I was thinking, I saw that they're having an event, and I was like, well, maybe check that out. And if the weather doesn't turn out to be really, really poor, like they say, one of my friends was like, yeah, there's going to be tropical storms this weekend. What? Tropical storms? What's time for that? There's also the York, Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair. So I'm trying to see if I can hit that on Sunday. And then eventually I'll get to the Maryland Renaissance Festival. But anyway, time to head out. Thank you, Mom, for tuning in. Thank you, Bald Head. Good to see you. And Aztec and Rusty and Brian, thank you guys all for coming in. And hope you have a great weekend. Back again on Monday with the Coffee Q&A at 10 a.m. I don't know what the topic's going to be yet, but we'll figure it out. And then I'll put it up on the listing. All right, well, have a great weekend. Until next time, have a good one.